Unstable.
This whole system is deeply flawed, and that's why I talk a lot about free markets and property rights, Austrian economics, and getting rid of the Fed. All these things are now up for grabs. A lot of people, especially the young people, are looking at this. So for this reason, I'm a bit encouraged by, what might come out of this. But I think we're going to go through the ringer. I think it's going to get much, much worse, and it's bad enough already. But there's no way that we can step back. The one thing I'm convinced of, after having spent so much time in Washington, is that this will not be a gradual recovery from this disaster that we have. We're not going to elect enough people and enough courage to vote the right way, and there's too much demagoguing and too much misunderstanding that people would revolt. But the collapse will come. It's going to hit the dollar, and then we're going to have our opportunity. So the more people who are protected, intellectually as well as financially, the better off we'll be in rebuilding what we'll have, what we'll need to do in the near future.
Buckle your seatbelt. It's time for another episode of the Prepper Recon podcast.
Whether your plan is to bug out or bug in, CampingSurvival.com has all of your preparedness needs, including fish antibiotics, long-term storage food, water filters, bug-out bags, and first aid kits. Use coupon code PrepperRecon for 5% off your entire order at CampingSurvival.com.
Today's guest is Todd Sepulveda, the creator of the very popular PrepperWebsite.com. Todd, welcome back on the show.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you and talk with you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you just released the latest edition of the Preparedness Review. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Preparedness Review, I'm very excited about it. It's 17 articles, and it's been downloaded a little, right under 9,000 downloads. It's been about a month. But, one of the trends that I see right now in the articles that in Prepper website that I'm posting, there's a lot of savings and being frugal and people using up, what they have and recycling. And so I wanted that to kind of be a theme. Not all the articles are like that, but, some of them, there's a good portion that are. And so I have stuff like baking in a box, survival hygiene, low-cost survival hygiene, do-it-yourself stuff, preparedness plans. I'm excited about Chris over at the Bug Out Bag Survival. He lent us, or he gave us his template for his bug out plan template. And I was able to include that into the download. And so, it's over 67 pages. So it's a nice little PDF to download, something definitely to keep, and to also print off the, it's kind of optimized so where you can print out the articles that you really like, and keep the articles that you like maybe in a binder, and the other ones that you don't want to necessarily print out, keep them on a flash drive or on your computer or on your tablet.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, because we have to remember how fragile all this technology is that we're working with. I just got a truck the other day, and it's only, I guess, about 6 years old. And, the mirrors already don't work, and, just little things like that. And I was trying to go on Realtor.com today. The site was down for the day. It's been inaccessible for several hours now. So things happen. We get little glitches, and this is just common stuff, and it doesn't take an attack from the Chinese or the Russians, which, we're making friends and influencing people around the world. So that's always a possibility too. So it's a great idea to print that stuff out. And I think that's great that you're including a lot of stuff about budgeting and financial preparedness, because that's so important. And I think a lot of people, preppers, miss that.
Yeah, that's for me, my wife and I, we knew that being debt-free was important. So even before I started, prepping, that was a big deal for us. And we did the Dave Ramsey, financial freedom thing. We even taught it at our church, and, went through the steps. So that was always important. And I see a lot of articles out there, and I see a lot of comments of people who are like, "Hey, we're trying to get debt free. We're trying to get there. We're trying to pay down." And if we do get to these bad economic times, which a lot of people think it's just inevitable, you want to have the least amount of debt as possible, so you have the ability to get what you need, but also sometimes that opens up opportunities for other people.
Yeah, and it's the concept is basically just trying to live on less than you earn, and if you're doing that, one of the things that does is if you do have to take a pay cut, or you lose hours at your job, or you have to scale back and take a lower paying job because you lost your job, you're already accustomed to living on less, and all that money that you've lived on less, you've been able to put that aside as a cushion. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a big key. I know that's the way that I live. I stress over finances. So for me, it was, I wanted to make sure that the house that I lived in and the job that I had more than covered what we needed. And so, we talked a little bit about home ownership before we went on the podcast. And one of the things that I remember when we purchased this house is I wanted to get pre-approved, because I didn't want to get fall in love with the home and then not be able to get it. So when we went to go get pre-approved, it was back in the day before, of course, 2008 and all that kind of stuff. And they offered us this crazy amount of money for the loan. And when I sat there with the guy, and I said, "Hey, we can make this payment, we can do this, but are y'all taking into account how much electricity is going to be and how much food's going to be? And your offer is not really taking that into account, is it?" And he said, "Sir, this is the offer that we have." So, we could have left there and went and purchased a humongous house that, would have been great, and we would have been able to, invite people over and have big parties and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But when it boiled down to it, I realized that we could do that, but we would be stressed all the time. And when you live below your means, which is just common sense, which, our grandparents did that. That was just automatic. They didn't live with credit cards and with debt, and that just wasn't done. But when you live and you're not stressed out financially, like I said, you have those opportunities, you have that ability to maneuver, and if life throws you a little bump in the road, you're able to manage it. It's not a crater in the road; it's just a little bump in the road that you're able to get through.
That's true. And then another possible thing people would need to think about is it's very popular now, the Oath Keepers movement for police and military. They've taken an oath that they're not going to obey certain unconstitutional commands, which it's not just conspiracy theory stuff. Gun confiscation, we've already seen police officers that have followed the command to go door to door and confiscate firearms after Katrina in New Orleans. And then we saw a lot of warrantless searches after the Boston bombing in Watertown. And so it's not just conspiracy theory stuff. That stuff really does happen. So if you're a law enforcement officer and you've decided that you're going to keep your oath to the Constitution, you may have to lay down your badge. Now, if you're buried in debt and living paycheck to paycheck, that's going to be a lot harder to do than if you've got a 6-month cushion in the bank.
Exactly. And like I said, there's just a lot of opportunities for you when you get to that. One of the things that I'm always I kind of learned this lesson early on when I was younger. My dad had a 1967 XKE Jaguar, so it was the one with the long nose, and he built this puppy from scratch. He imported the engine from England. imported the leather. The cylinders were porcelain. I mean, it was a beautiful car. He's put a lot of money into it. But then when the family business kind of went a little south, he sold it at a big loss to be able to pump that money into the business. And so, there's always those opportunities for people who have a little bit more money, and of course, for us who are, in the preparedness movement, we're not looking for, a classic car or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. You might be if you're moving money into tangible assets, but there's always those things that you could take advantage of when that are out there. Somebody selling a generator, someone selling a trailer at a really low price because they need to turn some money over. You just have those opportunities, especially, and not only that, but again, the stress that you don't have in your family and your relationships because you're always worried about money.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And Dave Ramsey's class is great. My wife and I took that right after we got married, and so that really kind of set the tone for our savings and budgeting, for our marriage. And that's another thing is a lot of divorces are over money problems, and that's a shame.
Yeah, it really is. That's one of the things that if I could, and I officiate a lot of ceremony. Some people know that I'm a minister, and I do officiate weddings. That is something I do on the side that I just like to do. If I could tell every couple, one thing, it would be that, make sure that you settle on your finances. And Dave Ramsey talks about that. I think opposites attract, and there's always going to be someone who is a free spirit in the house and someone who's the tightwad. I'm lucky and blessed that both my wife and I, we always think about the finances, and so that's always been a blessing. That's not something that we've ever had to fight about, but I know that's something that others do quite often.
Yeah, I'm blessed too. We're actually two savers, and I know Dave Ramsey does say that, but we are actually two savers, which I think is a very rare occurrence. Something like getting 4 blood moons in a row, But I've got Dave Ramsey's budgeting forms on downloadable. There's a link on Prepper Recon under the links. So anybody that's wanting if you're not on a budget, that's where you start. You download one of those forms. You can just keep it on your computer or print it out, fill it out, and don't expect it to work the first time, because you're going to have to make some adjustments, because you're not going to have enough for food, and you're going to have too much for personal spending, and you're not going to have enough for this and too much for that, and you're going to have to make little adjustments. But in 3 to 6 months, you'll have a fairly good working budget, and you'll be able to prioritize your saving, because you have to pay yourself first, and you got to set that money aside to save first. Being a Christian, of course, the first thing we do is tithe our money. But after that, the second thing we do is pay ourselves and save, and then everything else comes after those two things have been done.
Yeah, there's power in consistency. So I'm glad that you said 3-6 months you're going to start to see it. You don't see it the first month, right away. There's always some little hiccups that happen, and you get past that. But where I And I'm seeing it not just in the finances, but I'm seeing it in everything. Consistency is always the key, because I don't know. It just seems in life, people are so easy to jump ship or not to stick with things as easily. And so I think that's the key in finances, but it's the key in a lot of things as well. In prepping, in running a website, that's a big deal.
And now you're a really busy guy, because you've launched yet another website called yourpreparednessstory.com. It looks like it's going to be a great place to form community with other preppers.
Yeah, and where that kind of started. from just looking at Facebook and dealing with Facebook. Actually, before we got on, I was looking at an article about a conservative page that was banned off of Facebook for something that somebody posted, a video or whatever. And the ironic thing is that they paid to advertise or to boost that post, and then months later, they were banned. The creator of this page was banned for 30 days because of the post. So Facebook took the money, but then they wind up banning out, anyway. And so when you're working and you're putting all that effort into building your Facebook page and your social media and all that kind of stuff, I think that's important. Nowadays, you have to have that if you're going to be a website. But ultimately, you don't control that. Facebook controls that. Twitter controls that. Google Plus, Pinterest. At any time, they can change the algorithms of what that has been happening a lot with Facebook pages. So you'll have somebody who has a big, 100,000 followers, fans on their page, and they're only reaching 2,000 or 3,000 for every post. That's not really fair. That's something that Facebook has recently changed. So my thing was, why spend all the time and effort? I mean, you got to do it anyway. I have some automated things that I do, and I use Hootsuite to kind of post across social media. But why spend all that time building up a page when Facebook can just take it from you, when you can do the same thing online on your own website, and you can back it up, and you can, it's yours, and you can approve the content. You can, allow people to post on there. And basically what your preparedness story is, it's basically a page, a website that anyone can go post to. So if you don't have a website, or you have an article or a picture or a video or whatever, you can go post it on your preparedness story and get it up there for other people to benefit from. And so I know that when it initially started, people were like telling their own story, like how they got into preparedness. But now it's kind of evolved. And so there's some regular people that will post on things that they're doing. I know that I posted pictures of my garden, whatever. And so one of the things that happens is when you post on your preparedness story, it automatically goes out to my social media accounts. So it gets put up on Twitter, on Facebook, on Google Plus automatically. So that's out there for the preparedness community, and I think that as it's out there, more people see it and they see how easy it is. I mean, it's WordPress. It's a WordPress. Basically, it's a WordPress page, but when you're putting your article or whatever you're doing on there, it works like Microsoft Word. It's pretty easy, and I even have a video on there on how to do it. So it's a video tutorial that walks you through how to put your content up there. So I'm very pleased with it. I like to send out a shout out to Jane, Mom with the Prep. She was one that helped me with some of or she actually did the banner and the little I guess ads and stuff on the side with that talk about connect and inspire. And so I'd like to give a shout out there. But I welcome anyone to go and to take a look and to browse around, look at some of those articles, because some of those articles I do post directly on the Prepper website. I think they're that good, so I wind up posting them on Prepper website. So they get sent out to the social media accounts, but they also get linked on Prepper website.
Well, that's fantastic. And I've certainly had my issues with Facebook. My first page, it was Prepper Recon, but I mean it was me, and they shut it down and turned it into a fan page and told me that I wasn't a person. So then I created a new page with my real name and put that out, and so spent all that time redeveloping a new page and trying to reconnect with everybody that I'd lost connections, because once you're converted to a fan page, you don't have the ability to visit your friends' pages anymore. So and then the second one they shut that down. So I guess I'm officially pretty much done with Facebook, other than just posting things to the fan page. So,
wow.
Yeah, very disheartening, and I lost a lot of connection through that. So I'm excited about it. I'm definitely going to be checking it out.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to get. Some people don't want to take the expense of getting their to doing a domain, buying a domain, and getting hosting and going through all that hassle. But they do have that heart of a teacher that they want to share their knowledge, and this is a very easy way of doing it.
And there was a guy that was doing a internet radio show called The Midnight Patriot, and it's off because he's moved. He's in the process of moving and relocating, and so that's down for a little bit. But one of the things he came up with is he developed a website, and it's called patriotfb.com, and it's basically, if you go on the site, it looks exactly like Facebook, and it functions exactly like Facebook, but nobody will ever be kicked off for conservative content on there or patriotic content on there. So I think that's a great alternative as well. And the more people start using it, the more it'll catch on, and and that's such great. That's the great thing about a free market is we don't have to buy into the socialist propaganda. We can do our own thing.
No, that's great, man. I didn't realize he was doing that. I'll love to check that out.
Absolutely. Now, I talk a lot about the importance of spiritual preparedness on Prepper Recon, but you actually pastor a Prepper church, and then you stream that online live. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, Mark, I got to be honest with you, man. Your book is the inspiration behind that. So your first book, where the pastor is streaming online. At the very beginning, I can't remember the pastor's name.
I can't remember it either.
that happens to me all. Anyway, so the pastor that is right before when everything is getting crazy and right before it all goes haywire, he's streaming online and he's letting people know, hey, you need to get out of the cities. If you don't have a place, you can come. And all that kind of stuff. And I was just really thinking about that there are probably people that are preppers. Actually, I know that there are that don't feel comfortable talking about preparedness at their church, or maybe they've been run off, or whatever. I mean, there's a tons of reasons why. Even during the wintertime, I know that there's some people who have internet access, but they can't get out on the roads because it's icy or too dangerous, whatever. And so I just figured streaming online is it's very easy. I mean, I went to Best Buy and I bought their top of the line webcam, which was only like $99, and put it on a tripod and started trying it out. And we played around with Ustream, which was it was a good connection, but it was it would show the video and then that was it. And in order to archive the video, it was a crazy amount of money every day, every month. And so I played around with some other things. Justin TV has the ability to do it through one of the Adobe programs. And I played with that a little bit, but I could never just quite get it. And then in my research, I realized that YouTube, because of YouTube and Google and the connection there, you can do live events. Now, my church is called Assurance Church. It's a home church. I believe in the home church movement. We've been doing it for a long, long time before it got popular. But I got a connection with a pastor. His name is Andrew Jackson. That's his real name, Pastor Andrew Jackson.
Wow.
And one day I was looking for prepperchurch.com, and I realized, we had talked, and then I realized when I went to go search for it, I realized he bought it. And so I emailed him and I said, hey, are you going to do anything with it? He gave it to me. So now if you go to prepperchurch.com, it automatically takes you. I didn't want to try to do maintain two different church websites. So it automatically takes you to my home, my Assurance Church website, but it takes you to the video page that I update every week. And so we do it through YouTube live events. Not every, some people, like I've lost people on subscribing to my YouTube channel, which I don't really do a lot with, but I mean, I've lost some people because, they're like, hey, you've done a bait and switch. You've had Prepper website, but now all you're doing is, sermons and stuff. And the real reason behind that is because not every account has the ability to do the live events. And so when I was going through my personal YouTube account, I didn't have it. But when I went through Prepper website, I did have the ability to do it. So I just started using that, and so that's why they're kind of linked together. I didn't really want that, but maybe in the future I'll try to break it apart. But for the most part, I mean, it is linked, and we broadcast on Sunday morning. And the great thing about doing it with YouTube and the live events is that it automatically archives it and sends it to YouTube. So if we do if whatever it is, if you can't make it to church, or you don't get up or whatever, and you still want to hear a sermon, you can go. We do worship. I don't like the sound quality. That's one thing that I'm doing over the summertime is I'm moving my my wireless up to to the next level, so I have a better internet connection, and hopefully that will help the music a little bit. But it's been going good. I mean, it's fun. One of the things that we do on Sunday mornings is, of course, we do worship. Then we have a little break where we're kind of adjusting everything, and we're getting coffee. And we read a chapter a week. The church does. And so then we go around and we pass the Bible around. And when it comes to you, you can talk about the chapter that you read and what that means to you, what it meant to you this week, or whatever, prayer requests. You can talk about your week, a praise report, whatever. And so we've been doing that, but when we started the video and the live stream, no one wanted to talk because they're like, no, we're going to be live, or we're going to be on video, and so no one wanted to talk. So it took a little while before that stopped, but it does. And one thing that I say on the church website is that it's messy. It's not. You're not looking at one of your big mega churches that have 3 or 4 cameras and someone controlling the cameras and all that kind of stuff in the studio. It's messy. It's on a tripod right after worship. I move it. You have people crossing the camera, people talking about their week, people talking about what's going on and different things like that. So it's kind of fun that way. I also believe a home church, people don't go to a home church unless they're invited, unless they come with someone. They always think that you might be, dancing with snakes and drinking chicken blood or whatever,
Pigeon babies.
It was very funny because when we first started it, we did a lot of outreach and, knocking on people's doors and doing door hangers and everything that the church growth movement back in the day was said to do. And I would get a lot of phone calls, and I would get a lot of people come up to the house, and then they'd park and they'd look, and you could tell that they were there for church, but they were very concerned that it was a home. And so then they would just take off. And I got to the point when people would call, I'm like, look, we're a home church. We meet in a home. But one of the things that the video does is allows you to kind of see what it's like. So you're not, if you are in the Houston area, you're not, and you do want to go to a home church, or you want to go to a church that, people believe in preparedness. I think everybody in the church now has a garden. So, if you want to go somewhere that believes in that, or comes and approaches things from that point of view, then you can come and definitely visit. And you can get an idea of what the church is like through the video.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it was John Robinson was the name of the pastor, and I'm glad that that was inspiring. That's very humbling to hear that. That's great. And John Robinson was actually the pastor of the Pilgrims when they were leaving England, and ended up staying in England because of they had the troubles getting the first boat. And ended up getting on the Mayflower, and there wasn't enough room for everybody that originally wanted to go, and so he actually stayed behind. But he was one of the pastors the pastor that was sort of the spiritual leader for the Pilgrims in making their decision to come to America, and so the actual character John Robinson was an inspiring factor for that. But then it's also he's a little bit based on a Chuck Baldwin sort of a figure too. So
okay, well, and I'll tell you one of the things that you talk about in the book, where the church builds that community where they provide places for people, and it's they have the place out in the country where people are gardening and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that actually came up in one of the an article that I wrote, and I put it up on Ed That Matters, and I can't remember the name of the article, but I did talk about your book, and I did talk about that aspect of it. I mean, if there was a church that believed in preparedness, that maybe saw that and had some land, that would be, I mean, very, very easy for a church to be able to do. I thought that was a great idea, and I liked seeing that in your book.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all of that. That's it's very humbling to hear. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Katie Armor offers affordable body armor, including Level 3 trauma plates made of AR-500 steel, which can endure multiple rounds from pistols and rifles, up to 7.62 NATO. All their plates are available with Rhino Linings coating to reduce SPAW. Go to katiearmor.com. That's CATI armor.com today. Now, what have you been working on to improve your personal preparedness plan lately?
I think it's just I'm in the mode of just shoring up everything. My dad recently, and I've talked about this on the website, and I've written some articles and different things like that. He purchased some property up in East Texas, and so we've been going out there, and he's been kind of getting it ready. And it's kind of a place where we can go on the weekend. It's not so far away that we can't get in our vehicles and just go up there for the weekend. But it's not so close to where it's here in the vicinity of Houston. So really, that's been a big focus, getting up there, working on that. Helping Dad do that, or even think through some of the things that we want to implement up there. And so that's been one of my big things. But besides that, it's the website and getting the word out there. I think from what I see, I tear through, I scan about 200 to 300 articles a night when I'm posting to Prepper website. And a lot of the times I'm scanning the headlines. If something looks, the titles or whatever, if something looks interesting, I'll open it up and I'll read it or scan it. And if it's not something I want to post, I'll just close it down or whatever. But I read a lot, and right now the trend, I think we had a big push up to 2012. And we've seen kind of a lull, one of the things that I've kind of seen. But I think that as craziness really starts, and we're starting to see there's just a lot of things going on right now. I think we're going to see another ramp up of a lot of people being interested. So Prepper website has been very steady, but I think we're going to start ramping things up again as people start asking questions, as people start looking at our world, and they're not happy with what's going on, in the Middle East. They're not happy with our interventions in other, parts of the world. They're not happy with the economy and how much food is costing right now, and what that means for their bottom line. And so I think people are going to start looking for answers, and I think that's where, those of us who are in the preparedness community need to be ready to kind of help people, guide them through those times when they're asking questions, and they're not hitting them over the head with, hey, EMP and, nuclear war, whatever, solar flare, but getting them to see how important it is to just take care of the basic needs and kind of move from there. That's the way that I always approach things when people start talking to me. People at work know that I'm into preparedness. I talk about it frequently. People now, they'll come up, they'll talk to me sometimes in private when there's not other people, but they're like, hey, what do you think about this, or how should I handle this? Other people outright ask me. Some people make fun, but they know that it's they're not fun, but kind of rib me a little bit. But I think people are starting to see some of the things out there, and they're starting to ask questions. So my guide is always, hey, how much, right now, if you couldn't go to the store, how much food do you have in your pantry? I mean, how long could you and your family get by with what you have in your pantry right now? Those kinds of questions. What about the water stopped running for whatever reason? How would you, what do you have on hand that can help you there? Those kinds of things. And so that always helps people to start thinking about those things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And getting your neighbors on board is it has its own benefit to yourself, because that's that many people that's not going to be beating down your door trying to break in on doomsday.
I totally agree with that. It's important to get out there and know them and have that relationship with your neighbors. And I'm very happy. My next door neighbor is starting to garden, and we're not at the place where I learned a really harsh lesson this year. I posted on your preparedness story an article about the best investment for 2014. And what I did was I put in 30 feet of garden bed, and we brought in 4 yards of soil. And I didn't do the test like everybody said, go get a little bit of it, and then try to grow something in it and see what happens. I just called for 4 yards of their fruit and vegetable soil mix, and put it in there and started going to town, and realized that I have infertile soil. So now I'm working to build. I'm going to put some summer cover crop in there. I've been dealing with I think Grow Organics. Emailing back and forth to one of the people that were there helping me out. But I'm gonna, I've got some summer cover crops to put in there to start building it up a little bit. The berries that I put in one of the beds, they're doing great. They're able to handle it, but the other stuff just didn't work out. So not like I wanted. But that's a hard lesson to learn. But now I get to work on the soil, and I mean that's the most important thing of gardening, is making sure that you have building up your soil and having the best soil possible.
Wow, that's cool. The gentleman that's my neighbor that lives right behind me is a horticulturalist, and he actually grafts his own avocados and mangoes and that kind of thing. And he just turned me on to this stuff this year called Super Thrive. And I'd never heard of it before, and it just you take like a capful of it and you put it in a gallon of water, and it's an all natural sort of a booster for fruits and vegetables. And I just noticed it today in Home Depot. It's actually available in Home Depot now, but it's really, really good stuff. I put it on my pineapples, and it's the first year I've ever had I think I got 7 pineapples this year, which I just have a little row along my fence because they're sort of a dual-purpose plant because they're kind of spiky. So if you come over the fence and catch one, it's going to be an unpleasant experience. And then you've got a nice sweet pineapple once a year as well, and they look kind of nice, So while they're growing, so now can you do a lot of gardening in the summer where you're at?
You got to water a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, things are okay. Now, right in the middle of summer here in Houston, Texas, I mean, it's bad. I mean, it'll tear things apart. 1 year before before I started prepping, we took a summer cruise with the family, and we got, when we got back, everything was dead. And that was before I had a garden or anything, but we do have a pool in the backyard, and so we want it to look nice, and so we had it landscaped and all that kind of stuff, and just in 1 week everything died. So it can be pretty brutal. You just kind of watch it. It just depends. I mean, you gotta make sure that you're watering, and I think the soil. I do have some other garden beds that are doing really, really well. And so I think, I've been working with that soil for about 3 years now, and so the stuff that's in there is doing well. I just wish my other big garden beds were doing just as well. So it gets pretty crazy, but if you can keep them through the really hot part of summer and get into September, I've had some tomato plants that I've been able to keep. You just got to watch it very carefully.
Yeah, every region you're in, there's things you can grow and things you can't grow, and there's certainly seasons, and there's a big learning curve with gardening. So if that's something you're thinking of doing, start now. Start learning the lessons of what you can and can't do now, because there is a learning curve. And the people that are buying those survival seed vaults and never planting one seed and thinking that they're going to go out and start their own garden on doomsday and live off of that, probably not going to happen, because there's just little things that are going to be specific to your region or specific to your soil, like Todd just mentioned, that you're going to be learning. It's a constant learning process, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no doubt. One of the things I did start a journal, just so that I can write down some of the things that are working well, and some of the things that I need to think about for next time. So I think that's always a helpful thing to do.
Very cool. Now, of course, we're going to have links in today's show notes to prepperwebsite.com, but can you remind the folks of your other educational websites that you've got out there? Because there's quite a few of them, actually. Well,
right. I have edthatmatters.com. Ed is like education, ed, thatmatters.com. Really, that was going to be more of like a rant, just a website that I would just be able to rant on and stuff about education and whatever I wanted to rant about. But it just really turned into more of the preparedness thing. And so Ed That Matters is really education of being prepared, because that matters, I guess, is a way to link it there. And then when people send me guest posts, because people always want a guest post on Prepper website. Prepper website just looks really ugly for big long posts. It just doesn't really work. The template doesn't really work well. So I posted on Ed That Matters and then linked to it on Prepper website. So got that. I've got thepreparednessreview.com. That's available, and that really only comes alive 2 times out of the year when we post the preparedness review. So gearing up for the preparedness review to launch it, and then when we launch it, and then it kind of goes dormant for a while up until we do it again. So in the fall and in the winter, really, the spring and the winter. So now I'm looking at May and December. I was posting like in April and November, but May and December really work out a little bit better for me, and being with in my job. So we've got the preparedness review. We've got yourpreparednessstory.com. That is that's out there, and I welcome anyone to go. And that's the one that you can post to if you if you have something that you'd like to share with the preparedness community. Then I have Prepper Small Biz, and that was one of the thing behind that was to provide a place for small business owners that are preppers, and maybe they have a storefront, maybe they're just online, but a place where people can post their website. And if you are a prepper and you want to support preppers and small business, you can go there and you can search and you can find somebody that maybe of the items or whatever that you're trying to find, and you can support them. So that's there. And one that I started that I'm very happy that I started was top prepper websites, or top prepper sites. Oh my gosh, topprepperwebsites.com. And what that is it's a ranking website. And so websites, preparedness websites, survival websites, the webmasters go and they set up an account, and then they link to it, and then you can vote for their website by going to their website and clicking on the voting link. But then also you can hit the website, Top Prepper websites, and you can see all these other websites that maybe are unknown. Maybe you haven't heard of them before. And of course, you have the real popular ones up at the top, but then you have other ones at the bottom that are new, maybe getting started. They don't have as much content, but their content is really good. And so that's you can always hit those. And so right now, out of 100 spots that I have available on Todd Prepper website, I'm at 91. So there's only eight spots left.
Very cool. And then Prepper Church.
And prepperchurch.com. That's out there as well.
Very cool. Todd, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's been great catching up with you again. And thanks again for taking time to come back on the show.
Mark, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you're doing and the book that you're putting out. Like I said before, they are an inspiration to everybody who's preparing, and those of us who are Christians. It's great to see that aspect of it. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. American Reset, the long-awaited conclusion of the Economic Collapse Chronicles, is now available. In Book 3, the ultimate contest between liberty and tyranny reaches the apex. The Bear family and their neighbors fight to survive the fallout of the meltdown and cling to the principles in the Constitution. Will the collapse bring an oppressive regime that enslaves the American people, or will the patriots prevail and guide the country back to freedom, peace, and prosperity? Get your copy in Kindle, audio, or paperback on Amazon today.